What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Flying Knee KO podcast, episode number 8. My name is Victor Vasquez, and we're going to be talking about last Saturday's fight night, which was main evented by Robert Whittaker, the former middleweight champion, against the newcomer to the middleweight division in Darren Till. Very fun fight night that it was actually this past Saturday night. It was actually 7 fights in the main card, so very unique as compared to other fight nights that usually have about 5 typically, on main cards and in pay-per-view main cards as well. So a lot of action packed in to about 3 hours of time for that fight night. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it. We got to see a few new faces, maybe a specific name that we might mention in a later segment. We also got to see some familiar faces have some success last Saturday night. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in to the hot news that came out of the main event between Robert Whittaker and Darren Till in the segment that I like to call...
I'm here with the winner, Derek Lewis. Derek, why'd you take your pants off? My balls was hot. I understand.
Hot balls coming into this segment. We're going to try to pull something from last Saturday's main event, or fight night really, and try to see what's the hot news that came out of this weekend. And I kind of spoiled it at the beginning, but it really was Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. What a great main event. Even before the fight night happened, I was super hyped because I like both guys. I like Robert Whittaker when he was a champion. He was just dominating in the middleweight division. And then you have this guy that's Darren Till, so eccentric. He's got so much charisma. He's hilarious on Instagram. And so when those type of matchups get made, me personally, it becomes very tough to decide, okay, who's going to be the guy that's going to come out? Who would you want to see kind of move up and maybe get even closer to a title shot? I mean, Robert Whittaker is the number 1 contender still in that middleweight division, even before facing off against Darren Till. He just came off a loss against Israel Adesanya in his last fight, which was actually last November, I believe. And there was a lot of questions around the Reaper. Was he the same since his last fight? So he ended up getting KO'd by Adesanya in the middleweight title championship. So it's even tougher when you got to face a scary fighter like Till, who proves again that he is another guy that's not just any other middleweight. He's a tough guy that can knock you out and shut your lights out at any moment with that left hand. But Robert Whittaker just looks so damn composed, and he proved why he has that championship mindset, in any fight that he takes. He just looked very composed. He adjusted very well throughout the fight. I mean, and then he has this nice little blitzing action where he just pick and chooses when's the perfect opportunity to just leap at his opponent and just try to nice little 1-2 combination. But then in that first round, he ended up getting knocked down by a left elbow that was just so quick by Darren Till. Ended up knocking down Robert Whittaker. And good thing is, he came to his senses very quickly. He wasn't he wasn't dazed or anything like that. He took a while to kind of recover, but that first round went right to Darren Till. But then after that, Whittaker just, again, adjusted his game plan. Knew, okay, can't just be careless and just try to go in and try to absorb those shots. So, again, he started working a lot of his footwork, started throwing calf kicks, trying to take out the lead leg of Darren Till. That way, every time he tries to load up on a left hand, it doesn't have as much power. And then it turned into a technical striking matchup between the two. Both guys were legit in front of each other, staring each other down, and waiting for the other to make a mistake. And, to some fans that might be, don't really want to see that. I want to see more action, kind of constant, punches being thrown. But I love it when it's technical. I love it when these guys just kind of, that there's a risk, a high risk, that if you just go in too deep, you overextend too much, you could get caught. And neither one of those guys wanted to do that. And so, Robert Whittaker started playing that game where, all right, I'm going to pick and choose when to kind of blitz in, landed some nice calf kicks again, ended up, keeping Darren Till at distance, not letting him get a rhythm. And that really is what determined Whittaker winning the final 3 rounds, or at least 2 out of the 3 rounds, and he ended up getting a unanimous decision victory over Darren Till. He just showed at the end of the fight that really he was rallying. He knew exactly what changes needed to be made. He even had more success in the second round where he knocked down Darren Till. So that just shows you the type of caliber and the IQ that Robert Whittaker has, that even after he's been knocked down, he still finds a way to adjust and make sure that he knows, okay, going into this next round, I know what I have to do. And he's got a great coaching staff behind him as well. And I love seeing him smile afterwards. I mean, it had been such a tough road for him. It was very cool to see Robert Whittaker get another victory. He's back in the win column. And that guy's gone through so much, man. He got surgery on his bowels when he had to withdraw against Kelvin Gastelum. He went 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, which is never fun. He lost his championship. He had to pull out against Jared Cannonier, I believe, last year, again, for personal reasons. But it's just unbelievable the career he's had. He's now back, and he's, to me, only one win away, and he could get a title shot again. And the crazy thing is that all that stuff that just happened, all the things that I just mentioned in his career, has all happened, and he's only 29 years old. So, I mean, he said it himself before the fight. After the Adesanya fight, he said he needed to decompress. So he took some time off. He took some time to reevaluate, and he said it straight out. I needed to find the love for this sport again. I needed to find my love for MMA again. And it seems like he found it, because he just looked like he was on top of the mountain again. He just took out a very scary fighter in Darren Till. And now he's legit the number one contender in that middleweight division. But like I mentioned, I want to see him fight one more time before he faces off against the middleweight champion. I say that because now there's already the scheduled fight between Israel Adesanya and Paulo Costa this September, which I am very hyped for. But again, I'd rather see Robert Whittaker instead of wait for the champion. Let's go ahead and set something up so that he can stay active. Let's see how he feels. Now he obviously wants to spend some time with his family again, but I know that he'll probably be itching to get back into the cage. Very great performance by Robert Whittaker. And again, like I mentioned, in a later segment, I'll go over who I think is next for the Reaper, Robert Whittaker. But let's also shout out Darren Till. I mean, the guy, like I mentioned, he's hilarious on social media, but he's a damn good fighter. I mean, he stood toe-to-toe with the former champion in only his second middleweight bout. And it was close. It was a very close fight. One of those rounds, if either one of those rounds between the third and the fifth would have gone his way, we might be talking about something different. We may be talking about Darren Till going off to face the middleweight champion. Personally, I don't think this loss hurts Till a lot. Yeah, he's going to continue to work his way up the division. He already has a key victory over Kelvin Gastelum in his middleweight debut. So I'm really pumped to see what's next for Darren Till as well. And it's not going to be an easy task, though. I mean, you got killers in that division like Jack Hermanson, who just won last week, who actually he heel hooked Kelvin Gastelum. So that's a potential fight that they can set up as well. You got Jared Cannonier, who could be the dark horse of that middleweight division. There is a lot of potential of great matchups that can be made for Darren Till. So I don't expect him to be hurting at all after this loss. And he didn't even get dominated as well. It was a very razor thin, close decision like that. It obviously was a unanimous decision in favor of Robert Whittaker. But yeah, you got to give credit to Till for, again, just putting in that work and knowing that, you know what, I came short this time, but against a former champion, I still look pretty good. I personally would love to see him fight against Yoel Romero. He has made some funny memes and videos that he does not want to face Yoel Romero. He's actually scared of him, but I could totally be next, and only time will tell. All right, guys. Well, that was the hot news that I got from last Saturday's fight night. Now I kind of want to discuss my favorite fight of the night in the segment that I like to call...
Let me bang, man. I want to do that, man. I do.
Julian Lane saying that he wants to bang, bro. And you know what? For my Let Me Bang, Bro segment of this past week, my favorite fight is going to go towards Carla Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez. My goodness, these ladies put on a hell of a performance in the strawweight division. Let's start it off. Let's just break it down. First round was very competitive between the two ladies. Rodriguez landed a nice straight right, but then Esparza, with lightning speed, got the takedown immediately. And both fighters were still having success on the ground. Esparza landed some good shots, but Rodriguez did not let up. She started attacking from the bottom, and I love it when fighters attack from the bottom, because you see it, you don't see it that often. You see a lot of fighters, very worried that they don't want to get submitted, trying to defend, fight the hands, fight the wrists. But no, Rodriguez is confident in her jiu-jitsu, and she just started throwing elbows, slicing up Esparza, and one of them ended up cutting above the left eye of Esparza. And then, as soon as she got the opportunity, Marina ended up pushing off of Esparza, and she got back, on top position, and then continued to land some scary elbows that cut Carla. A lot of blood was pouring out. And then eventually, by the end, probably the last couple seconds of the first round, both fighters got back to their feet. And Rodriguez, again, went to work as she landed another sweet right hand. Just a fun first round to start off between these two ladies. Now, a very interesting second round, as Esparza ended up kind of waiting for a perfect opportunity to take down Rodriguez again. She found that first takedown in the first round very quickly. So this time, she was waiting for opportunity. And then at that 3-minute mark, boom, she changed levels and she got on top position again. This time, she knew, okay, she adjusted. She knew that Rodriguez was going to be a little bit more aggressive on her back. So now she negated a lot of Rodriguez's strikes and ended up landing some nice ground and pound, some hammer fist. And she even went in for an ankle lock. But what ended up happening was after she went for that ankle lock, that gave Marina an opportunity to land a hammer fist that opened up the cut above the left eye of Esparza again. So she kept throwing that hammer fist, until Esparza let go of the ankle. Both ladies got back up again, and then the second round ended. Finally, we see the third round, and Esparza dug in deep. She knew what she needed to do. She knew that she could take down Rodriguez if she found those perfect opportunities. And she knew that, okay, if I want to get this victory, I need to make a statement. Again, she got 2 key takedowns in that final round, stayed on top position, didn't get hit as much, and she also, on her end, landed a lot of ground and pound and ended up bloodying Rodriguez a little bit. Not as much as her cut above the left eye, but still, for the judges, if they see a lot of damage, if they see cuts, that's always in the favor of the fighter that did that damage. Credit to Marina, though. She continued to fight from the bottom, escaped from top position, but she could not find a way to stop the takedowns. Every time Carla changed levels, she either had a body lock or a single leg to kind of pull her down and get the takedown. In the end, though, Carla ends up pulling it off with a split decision victory. I have no problem with that. I could totally see some judges going Marina's way, but in this case, Carla pulls off the victory and actually hands Marina her first loss of her career. So she was coming in with 12 victories as well. But now, her first loss on her record. Esparza now on a 4-fight win streak and currently has the second most wins in strawweight history with 8 wins. Only behind Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who has 10 in that strawweight division. So she is trying to continue her climb back to that strawweight title. Still a few ladies above her. And we'll probably be talking about who is next for Carla Esparza, but congratulations to Marina Rodriguez and Carla Esparza in the Let Me Bang Bro segment for having the best fight of this past week. All right, moving on. We're going to focus in on a fighter that we weren't surprised by their performance in the segment that I like to call...
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Nate Diaz saying he's not surprised. And so we looked at the main card. We looked at the prelims. We tried to see, okay, who's that fighter that we weren't really surprised by in their performance? And I ended up going with Paul Craig from the light heavyweight division. What a victory and a great sequence by this man. He pulled it all off in the first round. Paul Craig ended up fighting, and I'm going to say this once, and I hope I get it right, Gadzhimurad Antigulov. That's right. That's a guy's real name right there. It's very tough. I'm only going to say Antigulov from now on. But yes, he ended up facing off against Antigulov. No shaking hands. He just went right down to business. And it all started with a takedown attempt by Antigulov. He tried to get a single leg. And as Craig was falling to the canvas, kind of giving up and allowing Antigulov to get the takedown, he tried to sink in a guillotine. But Antigulov escaped. Started landing some sick round and pound, but Craig did a really good job to just absorb those shots, and he was just waiting for a perfect opportunity to wrap his legs behind the head of Antigulov in order to try to get a few triangle submissions. And Antigulov, instead of fighting the submission, ended up throwing some bombs with the right hand, started opening up a cut above the left eye of Craig, and he just kept throwing it and throwing it, but Craig did a really good job to stay calm. He sinked in a triangle even deeper. He had his legs behind the head, and he just forced Antigulov to just stop throwing the punch. And then as soon as he tried to defend, it was already too late, and Antigulov had to tap. Beautiful triangle submission by Paul Craig, who now has 5 submission finishes in the light heavyweight division, which is actually tied for the most. And he's actually tied with names such as OSP and John Jones. So that just tells you how skilled of a grappler Paul Craig is, especially when you have, your name is included with the greats like John Jones. All of Craig's victories in his career, he currently has 13 victories on his resume. They've all been finishes. He's at a 100% finish rate currently in his MMA career. This man is a savage. 12 of those 13 victories have come by submission. So now you have an idea of why I chose Paul Craig as the person selected for the I'm Not Surprised Mother Effer segment, because this man is just a killer on the canvas. If he gets you down, his jiu-jitsu is just going to try to destroy any light heavyweight that he's able to get his hands on. So awesome performance by Paul Craig. Triangle submission for him, and I can't wait to see him back. Hopefully, he's able to continue his perfect 100% finish rate. All right, moving on. Next segment, we're going to be talking about somebody that we were surprised of. So Paul Craig was one fighter that we weren't surprised by his performance. And in this one, we'll go ahead and choose somebody that, needs a spotlight on them in the segment that I like to call...
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? You know damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
Who the F is that guy? In this segment, like I mentioned before, we are going to be highlighting a fighter that needs more spotlight. Even though everybody's been talking about this guy after this past weekend's fight night, we got to throw him more attention. We got to start talking about this man more. And that fighter is Khamzat Chimaev. Wow, that's really all I can say is wow. I mean, he faced off against Rhys McKee, and he just completely obliterated McKee. What's crazy is that he just fought 10 days ago. Not 10 days ago, starting today. I meant 10 days ago from like last Saturday's event. And he just completely obliterated both of his opponents. John Phillips, he fought last Wednesday's fight night in Yas Island in Abu Dhabi. And then he beat Rhys McKee last Saturday night. And it just completely obliterated both guys. Immediately went for the takedown. Both guys could not stop the takedown that Khamzat was able to provide. His grappling is just on another level. And he just immediately brought those guys down, ground and pound. And what's crazy is that his pace is just unbelievable. These fighters can't do anything about it. And he just proved that, okay, he's the next big thing in the welterweight division. It's just scary. I'm on the hype train for Khamzat. I am. I'm on it already. As soon as I saw him get those back-to-back victories, I'm all in. I want to see this guy more. And again, like I mentioned, he's the first UFC fighter to win 2 back-to-back victories in a 10-day span. It's unbelievable the way he was able to do it. I mean, just to kind of break it down a little bit, like I mentioned, the round started and Khamzat just got a body lock. Soon as he got the body lock, he pulled McKee to the canvas, and there was nothing McKee could do. He's just a grappling beast. He just reminds me of Khabib so much, like that nasty ground and pound where he's just gonna grind you, and you feel like you're just suffocating because you cannot escape that. He's trying to fight the wrist and he can't. He just can't fight the strength and the grappling of Khamzat. And he just completely stayed in top position for 4 minutes out of that first round. And he just started raining down hammer fist, punches, elbows, you name it, Khamzat threw it. He kept an unbelievable pace, and he just forced the referee to end the fight. McKee could not land a strike. And not only could he not, he didn't land a strike. That is already Khamzat's 5th first-round finish, and he remains undefeated at 8-0. Like I mentioned before, I'm all in on this guy. I can't wait to see him back in the cage. Listen to the stat, though. This stat is unbelievable. It's like he's landed more than 100 strikes, and his opponents have only landed 2 strikes on him. That's 2 opponents that he's faced in the last 10 days. Between those 2 guys, there's only been 2 strikes landed on Khamzat, and he's landed over 100. What do you got to say about that? I mean, there's nothing you can say. It's crazy. The stats, the pace, the grappling, everything that he's been able to do. These are the type of moments where you kind of look back and you're like, okay, where were you when you saw this guy for the first time? What had happened? And I'm just kind of glad that, all right, I got to see him, on his debut when he got back-to-back victories in a 10-day span. So And he even said it afterwards. He's like, you know what? I can fight again right now. So I can't wait to see Khamzat back in the cage. I hope it's against, somebody that can give him a challenge just to see where he ranks. Because obviously it changes very much when you start facing off against ranked opponents. Again, I'm all in. He's the future of the welterweight division, and I can't wait to talk about him in a later segment. All right, everybody, here comes the last segment where I try to do my best to play matchmaker. I try to guess for the winning fighters of the main card. Who are they going to fight next? Maybe a little bit more biased because I want to see a great matchup. And so this segment is called...
So I said I'd knock him out in the fourth round, and I knocked him out in the fourth round. You can call me Mystic Mac because I predict these things.
Mystic Mac coming in, and like I mentioned, I'll do my best to try to see who's going to be next for these winning fighters. Let's start off with the man we just talked about in the prior segment of who the F is that guy, and that is Khamzat Chimaev. My goodness, I'm not going to go over it again because it's just going to sound like a broken record, but this guy is just incredible. But now here comes the tricky part. Who does he fight next? And how quickly does he come back? Do you put him against a ranked opponent, or do you continue to build his legend? Just kind of build up the hype of this guy so that when he finally gets a crack at somebody in the top 15, we'll see if it really is all that hype. So all interesting questions. Obviously, we probably don't have the answers to those yet. But I will say this. I'm down to have him fight again this year, and I want to see him get tested. Now, maybe not somebody in the ranked top 15 just yet, but that dominance over the past 2 fights just shows, okay, he's really good against fighters that maybe just average. Now let's start putting him against fighters that are above average. So to me, we need to see a change of competition, something that steps up his level. That way he doesn't get bored. He doesn't get tired. So maybe give him somebody that we recognize or we know. That's why my choices would be Khamzat fight against Belal Muhammad, or even Cowboy Oliveira, who just got a victory as well on this main card. Even Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, Cowboy Cerrone is a legend in this sport. He's a Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer. But it would be interesting to see, because of the name value of Cowboy Cerrone, and if Khamzat got a victory over Cerrone, then the sky's the limit for this man as well. The important thing is, though, is we get to see this guy fight again, and I'm hoping he fights again this year. All right, moving on. We're going to talk about Alex Cowboy Oliveira. I just mentioned him, maybe fighting against Khamzat. He actually got a victory over Peter Sobota. Let me just go ahead and quickly break this one down. In the first round, it was very much like a kickboxing match. Both guys just trading some nasty body kicks that echoed around the Flash Forum Arena in Abu Dhabi. But it was Oliveira that was dishing out the damage. He landed a sick body kick to the abs or the solar plexus of Sobota that kind of made him buckle. You could see that he kind of dropped his hands a little bit. So now he knew, okay, got to stay away from that kick by Oliveira. Second round, Sobota tried to change it up by, going for a level chain, getting a takedown. He seemed to have that body lock, but then Oliveira, just with great takedown defense, was able to separate and then land some elbows off the break. So it's just great stuff by Oliveira. And he was really the one landing some nice calf kicks, some leg kicks, body shots, body kicks, throwing to the head. So it just allowed Oliveira to kind of mix things up and be able to adapt his game plan to just offer Sobota so many things that Sobota didn't know, okay, where's the next strike coming from? Getting to the third round, Sobota just knew at this point he was losing 2-0. He had to go for a KO or submission. It just never came. He did have his best round. He landed some nice strikes, but nothing significant that really hurt Oliveira. Oliveira ends up getting the unanimous decision, another great victory, and is really the best that Cowboy has looked in a while. So, as I mentioned, Khamzat could totally be a possibility, but it would be interesting to see how Khamzat would do against Cowboy Oliveira. And again, I'll offer even Mike Perry as a potential opponent, or even Belal Muhammad. A lot of great names in that welterweight division that can face off. These all could be potential contenders for titles in the future, but it's going to be a very fun next couple of months and even years in the welterweight division. All right, moving on. We're going to be talking about Paul Craig, who ended up getting a nice triangle submission over Antigulov. I highlighted Paul's performance in a previous segment. He's got a 100% finish rate. So I want to see him fight against somebody in the light heavyweight division outside the top 15. That way he can keep fighting unranked opponents and build a nice little win streak. He could face off against Devin Clark or Magomed Ankalaev, who both have gotten victories their last time out this year, or even a rematch against Shogun, who also won in the co-main event tonight. They ended up going to a draw in their previous fight, so that'd be interesting to see. Okay, you know what? Both guys want to get that victory, and both victories really would be great for either guy's career. Probably more so for Paul Craig because Shogun is a big name in the UFC. All right, for the next fight, we're going to be highlighting Carla Esparza. This one's probably the easiest one because Esparza ended up calling out somebody. And before we get there, she's on a heck of a streak. She's got victories over Marina Rodriguez, who she got on Saturday night. She beat Michelle Waterson, the karate hottie. She even has a victory over Grasso. She's looking to fight for the title one more time. And like I mentioned, she made it easy. She called out Claudia Gadelha. She ended up fighting her in 2018 and lost to Gadelha. So she really wants that one back and try to have that name on her resume. And having now on a 5-fight win streak, that totally puts her in contention for the next strawweight title as well. She doesn't have it just yet because Rose Namajunas just got a victory. So she's for sure next in line to face Zhang Weili. But if Esparza continues her performance and her ability to adapt and take out these big names, you could see her fighting for the title very soon. All right, next person we're going to be focusing on is Fabricio Verdum. The former heavyweight champion ended up, introducing Alexander Gustafsson to the heavyweight division by finishing him via armbar. Gustafsson, what a terrible start to his heavyweight career. This is his first fight, his debut, and it looked like he was starting off really well. He's very light on his feet. Still seemed he had that quickness from the light heavyweight days, and he landed a nice right hand on Verdum. But then Verdum changed levels, and he fought for that takedown. It wasn't easy. Gus did a great job to throw some heavy hammer fists to try to escape the takedown. And the moment he breaks the lock, he thinks, okay, I'm free. But Fabricio didn't give up. He chased him down, got him from his back, and then brought him to the canvas. And from there, it was practically the end. Verdum is a BJJ black belt beast on the ground. He went for a rear naked choke. Gus was fighting the hands, but as soon as he kind of used one of his hands to kind of fight the wrists of Fabricio was planning it all along. He found the opportunity, got a hold of one of Gus's hands, and from there, it ended up trying to be an armbar. Gus did a really good job to kind of not roll over, but then eventually Verdum took his time, rolled Gus over onto his back, and he just pulled and separated his hands and got the armbar finish. And just like that, Verdum gets another victory. Now, what's next for Verdum? He's a former heavyweight champion. If he really is planning on climbing his way back up, he's going to start having to fight guys that are above him in the rankings. He's currently ranked number 14 in the heavyweight division. So why not face off against Sergey Pavlovich, who's ranked number 13, or even Walt Harris, who sits at number 10. Both of those matchups would be fresh for Fabricio, and then either one will help him continue climbing the heavyweight division. All right, co-main event time, and it's going to be between the two legends, Shogun Rua versus Antonio Nogueira Little Nog, the trilogy. Nogueira was trying to get his first victory over his bitter rival. He ended up just coming so damn close, but Shogun got the decision at the very end. It ended up being a split decision. Like I mentioned before, this is the third matchup between these two legends. They first fought in 2005 at Pride. Then 10 years later in 2015, they faced off for a second time in the UFC. Shogun coming out on top in both of those fights. So Little Nog mentioned actually during fight week that this was going to be his last fight. He wanted to retire, and he thought of no better person to fight for his last time than Shogun Rua. And so, again, very close rounds, very similar to their fights, like the ones that I mentioned. It's just one round after the other where it looks like Little Nog just had a great momentum in that first round. And then the second round, it just started, getting a little bit better for Shogun. He started finding his rhythm. And then Shogun at the end had his best round where he continued to throw kicks to the body. He just, it's throwing them, landing some nice overhand rights, changing levels, and getting a takedown in the final minute. stayed in top position and landed some nice elbows, which could have been the difference maker for Shogun. But like I mentioned, he ends up getting the split decision victory over Little Nog and keeps him at 0 in their trilogy. So he won all 3. Now, what's next for Shogun Rua? I kind of spoiled it in my previous matchmaking decision for Paul Craig, but it could be Paul Craig. I mean, he already mentioned that he would love to get that victory because he feels like he beat Paul Craig the first time. Instead, it was a draw. So now he's saying, you know what? Paul got a victory. I got a victory. Why not? Let's just throw down one more time. And it'd be very beneficial for both guys and to see who comes out on top in that light heavyweight matchup. All right, guys. Final fighter of the night is Robert the Reaper Whittaker. We talked about him in the hot news segment. Very interesting because on the one hand, he is the number 1 contender. So immediately you think, all right, well, he deserves whoever's next, in regards to the champion. If Israel Adesanya wins, then Robert Whittaker gets his rematch. If Paulo Costa wins, then maybe he gets a shot at Paulo Costa. As much as I would want him to get a title shot, I feel like Whittaker just needs to do one more fight. Just get one more under his belt. Just try to see where he stands. And so, to me, the perfect matchup would be facing off against Jared Cannonier. And that was the fight that he was originally supposed to be his comeback fight after he lost the middleweight championship, but he ended up stepping away because of personal reasons and health problems. But I feel like Jared Cannonier, he's waiting for another shot. Israel Adesanya even said that Jared Cannonier might be the dark horse of this division, and I don't disagree. He seems to have that scary power. I mean, a guy that comes from like the light heavyweight division or the heavyweight division all the way to the middleweight division shows you that his power can still carry on. And he ended up beating Jack Hermanson in his last fight. So Jared Cannonier versus Robert Whittaker would be an amazing fight. If it's not that, I would also love to see Jack Hermanson. He ended up winning in his previous matchup 2 weeks ago against Kelvin Gastelum. And he even said, I think I deserve to fight the winner of Robert Whittaker and Darren Till. And I don't think that's a bad idea at all either. So either one of those matchups for Robert Whittaker are perfect for me. Again, I would prefer him to get one more match under his belt before he gets a title shot. And it would be very interesting to see him against Jared Cannonier or Jack Hermanson because both guys are very skilled newcomers into this division and both are just hungry to get a title shot. So very, very cool fights that could be made for Robert Whittaker, and I can't wait to see what is next for him. And hopefully he gets to come back again this year. If not, hopefully we'll see him in the early first quarter of 2021. All right, everybody. Well, that is what I wanted to discuss in regards to the fight night that happened this past Saturday that was headlined by Robert Whittaker versus Darren Till. Great card, and if you have a subscription to ESPN Plus, make sure to check that one out. It was a great main card. If you have time, even check out Khamzat. My goodness, this guy is a savage. Check out his 2 fights that he's already had just to see how much he dominated. And if you're interested as well, just check out any of the other fights that I mentioned, like Carla Esparza versus Marina Rodriguez, as well as Darren Till versus Robert Whittaker. Very technical matchup. That's all I really want to talk about today in this episode 8 of the Flying Knee KO podcast. My name is Victor Vasquez. Guys, if you have any comments, make sure to put those down below. If you ever want to reach me, you can always email me with any questions or any comments, any feedback. I'll take all of that, guys. Again, just doing this because I love the sport of MMA. So, guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you so much for listening. You guys take care of yourselves. Be nice to each other. And be on the lookout for episode 9 of the Flying Knee KO podcast next week. All right, guys. Have a good one.